Hey guys, welcome to part one of our little series on tarot here. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the cards themselves and something about the artwork and how they can be used and how the same image can be translated into so many different ways by each individual artist. So I'm going to start by showing you the Justice card from several different decks that I own. And the first one, this is actually from the first deck that I picked up. It's from the Tarot Nova deck. Very simple, very basic, just showing a woman with her arms as the scales in the Justice. The next deck that I got is very unique in that it is a circular deck. That's the back. But again, as far as the image on the front, relatively basic. It's interesting in that it has a stained glass window quality, but again, woman holding the scales. Very basic for Justice. The next deck that I got is a little bit more interesting, because in this one, whereas the other two, the first one had no sword, and the second one, you can barely see the sword in her hand. In this one, the sword is very prevalent in her right hand, and the scales in her left. Beautiful artwork on this deck. This is the Universal Fantasy deck. And after that, I have gone on to collect several different decks. This is out of a mini deck called the Witchy Mini. And again, she has the dagger and the scales and the owl. This is from the Australian Animals deck. And bird. And the interesting thing about this deck is the keywords that surround the edges. That give a little bit of clues as to the meaning of the cards. Each card in a tarot deck has a particular set meaning. Of course, each reader can read the card differently depending on what they see in it or what they get from their own personal intuition. Personally, I'm an intuitive reader, so I tend not to read by what they call book meanings, but rather I look at a card and I get a feeling and I say, well, it means this here, and it could mean something that the card is sort of meant to mean, or it could mean something entirely different depending on where it's placed and how it's sitting. I just want to show a couple more examples. I have here from the Whimsical Tarot deck, which is an adorable deck, and it uses fairy tales, Goldilocks and the Three Bears in this case, to illustrate the meanings on the different cards. The Mystic Fairy. And again, these are all different interpretations on the same card. These next two that I'm going to show are interpretations based off the Rider-Waite Tarot. I don't, unfortunately, have a copy of the Rider-Waite deck with me to give you basis, but that's sort of been what they call a standard for tarot. And this is a Rider-Waite variation called the Gummy Bear Tarot. Whole deck done in gummy bears. And this next one is a personal favorite of mine because it brings together two of my great loves, tarot and old video games. This is called from a deck called the 8-Bit Tarot, and all the cards are pixelated to look like an old video game. So that's a little bit about the different cards and some examples on how the same card can be translated into so many different ways. In the next video, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how to put the cards into practice. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll have another, if I could talk right, that would be great, another video up for you guys next weekend. Take care.